Well, if God is the creator, what does that mean for our understanding of the world we live in and of ourselves? What does that mean for our understanding of creation? One of the best ways to get at this is to notice a little phrase the Old Testament uses to talk about this reality. At a number of places in the Old Testament, when God's creation is in view, God's work of creating, what the Old Testament says is, the Lord made the world by wisdom. The Hebrew phrase is bechokhmah, by wisdom. It said in Psalm 104, it said in the prophet Jeremiah, and it said in the book of Proverbs, the Lord by wisdom founded the earth. Or the psalmist looks around and says, O Lord, how many are your works? By wisdom you have made them all. That is what the Bible says we can say about creation, because it was made by the Creator God who spoke creation into existence. It was made by wisdom, by His wisdom. He made it wisely. Perhaps the best picture we have of this work of creation by wisdom is in the very first chapters of the Bible, Genesis chapters 1 and 2. There we get the story of God's creation by His word. And it's a picture of God creating the world by wisdom. As you read through it, the structuredness of it and the beautiful, elegant orderedness of it stands out. Later in the Bible, the Apostle Paul will say God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. And that's what Genesis chapters 1 and 2 look like. God brings creation into existence by His word in peace. It's a peaceful, beautiful, powerful work. And God said, and it was so. It goes over and over again. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And there was evening and morning the first day. And God goes on to create the lights and to divide the sea and the land, and then to fill the spaces with birds and fish and land animals, and to make plants. And each time it says, and God said, and it was so. And there was evening and morning, and there's this regularity. And then at the end of each one of those moments, it said, and God saw what He had made, and it was good. There are a few parts of the Bible that more profoundly shape our view of the world. It's very possible to look at the world and think that it is not good, and kind of random or haphazard, almost an accident. But Genesis stands against both of those things because it proclaims that God made the world by wisdom. This world was not made by accident, by random chance, thrown together, a happy or unhappy coincidence. It was made by a wise God who spoke it into being and made it good. That profoundly shapes our view of the world. It teaches us at least two things, as I've said, that it's ordered and that it's good. This world is both ordered and good. Well, what do those things mean? Let's take the first one. What does it mean to say that creation is ordered? Simply put, it's just a way of saying that this world is finite in its goodness. It is this kind of thing and not another kind of thing. It is the kind of world that it is. It has a structure and integrity that our fundamental attitude to should be one of respect. It has an integrity that is good in itself. It has an order and a structure that needs to be respected. We see this in a whole range of ways in the Bible. In Genesis, we see it in the way that the plants are given to the animals for food. The animals take their places within certain parts of the world. It's a way of picturing this order. We see it also in some of the moral aspects of the Bible. When Jesus talks about marriage, he refers back to the creation story and says that at the beginning of creation, God made them male and female, and for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. He refers back to the original creation and said, that's how it was, and that has an effect on how we think about things today. There is an order to creation that needs to continue to be respected. That's only one example. There are many others. A lot of my interest is in the wisdom literature. And the wisdom literature, which means the book of Proverbs and the books of Job and Ecclesiastes, is full of this thought that this world has a kind of natural shape to it, which if you respect it, it works. One way to describe it is the world has it's kind of hospitable to human life in a certain way. There are ways of wisdom that work and ways that don't. This concept that creation is ordered, though, can be abused, and it's really important to know about this possibility. Because as soon as you start talking about order, people can misuse that. People can use that for their own powerful interests or to make sure people do exactly what they want them to do. That is a risk, but the Bible is not embarrassed about the fact that creation is ordered. Indeed, it maintains it because it sees creation as good and finite. And if creation is good and finite, then it does have an order to it. And in fact, the Bible's idea of order actually stands against injustice in a whole range of ways. It provides a standard to which people can appeal. Poverty is not how the world's meant to be. Injustice is not how God made this world. It's against the integrity of creation. Things like that. This is a point that has profound relevance to the way we think about ecological issues today. But that's for discussion at another time. But the second thing to say is that creation is good. Remember, we heard it in Genesis, and God saw what he had made, and it was good. And then right at the end, and God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. You know, it's very easy to believe that the world is not good, or that certain aspects of the world are not good. All through the history of religions, you have people saying that certain bodily or creaturely things are not good. Food, sex, things like that. They're not good. They're to be avoided necessarily just because of the kind of thing they are. But that's not the Bible's view of things at all. In the Bible, God made this world and he made it good. And so as the apostle says in 1 Timothy chapter 4, everything God made is good, and nothing is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving. Food, sex, bodily things, they're not evil just because they're bodily. They're good. In fact, this creation is full of God's, it still rings with God's approval, and God saw that it was good. If you believe that, it changes the way you see this world. So they're the first things to say about creation, because of the way God made it and made it by wisdom. Now, of course, when we look out on the world, it doesn't always look ordered or good. It often looks chaotic. It often looks evil. And that's because there is, of course, more to say than these first things to say about creation. We've only just begun. But it's important that the starting point of the story of the Bible is with a good creation. The Bible story is not a story of good coming purely out of evil, a bad beginning seeing a good end. No, there is a good beginning. The good God creates a good world. Other things happen to it after that, and they're terribly important, but that's the point to start with.